So we are here, we made it to the Biohackers World Conference 2025 in Los Angeles. And we are so happy and grateful because really an extraordinary group of people have come out, and Los Angeles really needed this. We really needed sort of a reset to shift the energy from all of the fires and all the chaos. And as I always say, I'm from Los Angeles, the city of angels. My name is Lea Llovio, like love you, because I do. That's what I usually say. And
cute.
yes, and Alisa and I have something in common with the word love. But this is Alisa Galper, and she is an extraordinary sound healer, vocalist. And there's even a lot more to her than meets the eye. And we're going to have an extraordinary discussion today. Alisa, I would love for people to hear directly from you, what got you started? How did you become a yoga teacher, a sound bath healer, a vocalist? I mean, this is just the most extraordinary combination of healing energetic modalities, which are really fascinating and really move the needle for people.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Alisa Galper, and the reason I got started in all of this was honestly because I was hurting. I was in a place of pain, and I was a Chinese pop star eons ago, but I was signed with Universal Music in Taiwan, and if you know, the music industry can be pretty brutal to a young girl. I was 18 at the time and incurred a lot of emotional, physical, spiritual stress from being in that environment, and yoga was kind of my one reprieve. It was the way that I could connect to my breath and my body, and it kind of saved my life in a sense. Emotionally, when I felt like I wanted to give up, having that practice and having that breath to come back to is really what motivated me to continue going. And when I left Taiwan and came back to LA, I'm also a Los Angelian native. Yes. I gave up singing, and I didn't want to do it anymore because when you're singing for such a big record label at that age, you're kind of like a puppet to the industry. They tell you what to wear, they tell you how to look, they tell you how to sound. So I wasn't able to sing from a place of my heart. It was singing as a performative measure and for validation from my superiors, from the audience. And so I lost my passion for singing. So I stopped doing it for about 12 years. And it's only in the last 5 years since doing my yoga teacher training and discovering the magic of crystal bowls and what that did for my nervous system that I realized that this is something that I want to share with everyone. And when I was starting to play the bowls and my voice just naturally accompanied the harmonics of the resonance, it just felt like this beautiful rush of energy come up over me. And so now when I get to share this offering with the world, it not only hopefully blesses other people, but it also blesses me. I feel like overcome with love every time I get to share this offering. So it's been a long journey to get to a place where I can use my voice for healing and instead of using it for validation. And I think that's the beauty of music, is like you get to express your full heart.
Beautiful.
Not just show off how great your pipes are.
That is fantastic. That's interesting that you said that as you were a very famous singer before, in the more mainstream type of music, you were constantly being defined, right?
Constantly.
And it's interesting because society is sort of always trying to define us and tell us how we should live, what's right, what does it mean to be optimized, what does it mean to be spiritual. And I love that you decided you were going to still do what was in your heart to do. You were still going to sing, but you shifted to sing in the way that you wanted to sing, to create sound, to create music, to create frequencies and vibrations that penetrate people's souls in the way that you wanted to do it from your own soul, on your own terms. And so I would love to learn more about how this healing process and this finding your true voice, which I believe it was probably already there, but then now using your voice on your terms, how you choose. How has that shifted you energetically as a human being? How has it shifted how you think of the world, how you think of people? And what your exchange is when you are doing that blessing exchange with humans?
Well, I think that, when you are singing to perform, it is very self-driven. And when you are singing to help people feel better and to facilitate a calm energy, you're singing for others. And so that feeling that comes up within you, that's not something that can be manufactured. And for me, it's really important that every time that I can share this offering, that it comes from a genuine and authentic place. So I'm really grateful that the more that I've delved into my personal healing, the more that I've listened to podcasts and read all these spiritual books and gotten into the sources of my inner child and my traumas and dealt with my stuff, the more that I dove inward, the more compassion and love I had for the people around me. And so as I began to sing more for healing, not only was I healing other people, I was also healing myself. Mm-hmm. Every time I play the bowls, yes, I'm facilitating for a container of space, but I'm also facilitating myself. So it's over time in these last 5 years, I've noticed my energy. I have ADHD, and I was a type A, crazy person, always rushing around, always late to things, always feeling like I'm missing something and I'm running back and forth. And I thought, this is just how I am. And that's the narrative that we have to break. It's no, you don't have to be the way you are. Things can shift and change when you decide in your mind that you want them to shift and change. And so when I decided that I was ready to look at my stuff inside and did the work to find modalities like breath work, like sound healing, like cold plunging, like saunas, all these different wonderful holistic practices that help you purge the body, I realized that I was releasing all of my anxieties and all of my chronic stress. And the more that I did that, the more balanced and the more peaceful and free I felt in my energy. And it's the most beautiful compliment I get from people is wow, just being around you makes me feel so calm. And I'm just thank you, because that was not my reality for most of my life. So this is a new shift in the last 5 years.
A new reality.
A new reality. And that's the beauty of this work is it's not something you're born with. This is something we can learn to cultivate. And the message is, to help more and more people recognize that you don't have to be stuck in anxiety. You don't have to be stuck in chronic stress. You don't have to be stuck constantly in pain or, in a place where you feel trapped in your own body. There are so many ways to set the mind, the physical body, the spiritual body free, if you are willing to look and if you're willing to make that change.
I love that.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to really incorporate those thought processes that are going to shapeshift, right? We kind of think that spirituality and energy is so woo or so mystical. And there is a mysticism to it. There is a beauty to it. However, there are really simple things, right, that we can do as humans to really elevate our energy. And then we have these magnificent tools, you have the singing bowls, you have your voice, there are supplements. We are at a biohacking conference with people that are really caring about how they live this life, right? They're caring about not just living longer, but living healthier, living well, and optimizing the physical body to really create from a spiritual place, right? Because the body actually carries the soul throughout this lifetime. So what have you seen I know you mentioned to me that you work with audiences, obviously, as a performer and as a healer, and that you also work with people one-on-one. Where have you seen, or what have you seen that has made the fastest, most impactful shifts in the people that you work with to help them accelerate and elevate their healing process when they do and incorporate some of the things that you teach?
Well, I think it's not a one size fits all, and sometimes it's not about the fastest. Sometimes things take time. And for your specific, a conglomeration of traumas, or, you know, for your specific needs. Some people need group sessions because they feel supported with those people around them, and some people prefer doing it alone, because that way they don't have to worry about other people's energies, right? So if you're an extrovert, if you're an introvert, if you're, depending on your age, the accessibility to the space, you know, if you want to lay down or if you want to be seated. So it really depends on the person. And I always tell people, it's like, it's not about how you do it, it's the consistency. So even if that's like a 5-minute sound bath meditation that you listen to in the morning every day, that's better than going to one big event once a month. You know, in my mind, like from my own personal experience, having the consistency and the routine of incorporating mindfulness and meditation and some type of practice to regulate the nervous system is what is going to help you feel better long term. You know, you can do one big event and have an amazing transformation, but that doesn't always happen for everyone. And it really depends on what your body is ready for. And just because it works for you doesn't mean it's gonna work for me. You know, and just because you went to one sound bath and you didn't like it doesn't mean that other sound baths you're not gonna like, right?
That's such a good point.
Yeah, because I tell people all the time, in these types of practices, everything is so subjective, right? It's like flavors of an ice cream. Some people like chocolate, some people don't, right? So you gotta keep trying the different modalities or the different practitioners to find the one that works for you. It's like dating, you know? So making sure that you like and vibe with the energy of the person that is healing you or helping you find those ways that you can heal yourself, you know, because it's not that I'm healing you, right? I'm providing a framework, a guide for people to heal themselves and do the work to heal themselves. So that is where I feel empowered, you know, is watching how people take control of their life and shift and make those big changes. It's beautiful to witness and watch. I love that.
I love that too. And so I always like to start with, you know, where you see the most progress, because we always want to look at the positive and what's working. But sometimes, like you said in the beginning, in your own journey, you had to take a look at the things that were blocking you, at the things that your soul maybe needed to heal. And where have you seen, what are the blocks that you have seen that some people run into, that it's not that we're focusing on the negativity, but that it's good to pay attention when certain types of maybe thought processes or habits or blockages come in that can really prevent people from achieving that soul liberation, that happiness, and living the life that they want?
So one of the main things that I've noticed people struggle with is impatience. Like what you were saying earlier about, like, what's the fastest way? Like, how can I heal the fastest? And that impatience, you know, is very natural because we all want to feel better quicker, right? And that's the one thing that I always stress to people. It's not about how fast you do it. Because sometimes when you do it too fast, your nervous system's in shock, right? And you're not ready for that. Some people can't do cold plunging right away because it's too much for their nervous system, right? So it's like dipping a toe in. You want to just help yourself get acclimated, you know, and really, really, really have grace for yourself. It's so important to be kind to ourselves in this fast-paced society where your worth is measured by productivity, you know, and by your level of success. Like, that is the narrative that the world wants us to believe. But what's important is to remember that your value is intrinsic. As a human being, because you are here, you are valuable, right? Our hearts are electromagnetic. We're constantly pulsing energy, right? And when you attune to your own energy and you are cleansing and purging yourself of negative frequencies, then you're going to give off more positive vibration just by existing, right? And so the more that you are tending to your own energetic vibration, the more you're changing the world, the more you're shifting the communities and the spaces around you, right? So it's really important not to focus on how much am I accomplishing, but it's more like, how am I feeling? And how am I responding to the people around me? How am I energetically showing up right now, right? And I think that awareness is lost on most people, because we're not taught to think about those things.
That's right.
So through my yoga teaching, through my sound bath events that I do up in Seattle or anywhere around the world that I travel to, the main message is always, don't be in a rush and focus on what's in here. And that goal, making it as easily able to be consistent with yourself, like that's the most important thing. So if you can incorporate 5 minutes of meditation every morning, like that is the best thing you can do for yourself. So don't be in such a rush to feel and see the changes, because change is always happening. Your cells are dying and rebirthing and
That's right.
changing constantly. So even when you feel like nothing is happening in your life, the universe is still working.
It's always
doing
working.
Its thing.
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
And I love what you're talking about, because one of my first teachers used to tell us, you have to be your own stalker. You have to stalk yourself. If there's anything you're going to stalk your thoughts. And having that mindfulness, having a practice, and having the patience, as you said, which I think is essential, right? We all want to heal right now.
Yeah.
And taking the baby steps is so important.
So important. You just need that one step.
Yeah, one step at a time. And the clients that I work with, that's what we do. We don't shock the nervous system by starting 10 supplements in one shot.
Right.
And doing, let's do red light therapy today, sound bath, meditation, and let's just start it all today.
Yeah, we're going to shock the system with all of those new things all at once.
Right.
Your body's not going to be able to integrate all of that.
That's
Integration is the key. Anything that you try, you want to be in your awareness around, how am I feeling with this practice? Where is it landing in my body? How can I shift? Because like I said before, like one thing could work for someone else, but it may not work for you.
Exactly. And I think what you're explaining there is also a simple way of explaining mindfulness. People think, oh, mindfulness, I need to be a Tibetan Buddhist and go to the mountains to become mindful. I need to go to India and meditate for 5 years. You could if you have time, right? But that mindfulness is actually really simple, and it is those tiny little steps, and like you said, integrating one thing at a time, and not shocking the system, and also not being, even if you are intimidated, still take that little step. Because it's not, mindfulness and peace and spirituality and elevation are not as intimidating as they appear. They can be broken down by somebody like you into very simple, short steps with that patience, and you do bring that calmness and patience into the energy, into the room.
Thank you.
You really do. Just like when we met earlier and you said to me, oh, I don't know anything about you, tell me about you. You were not in a hurry to just tell me about you, right? There was that awareness, that presence of saying, we're here in it together. There's this exchange we're gonna have, and it's a conversation, and we bless each other with the energy that we're creating together, and the frequencies that we now get to put out into the world.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to ask you, what does Alisa do every day to center herself when you are in the work of being someone who provides or enables or assists with other people's healing? Sometimes you take on a lot of energy, right? Some people can take on a lot of energy if they're not able to really clear themselves or center themselves. So what are your practices? Let's start with your everyday practices, like your non-negotiables, things that are really important for you to feel that you are whole, that you're here, that you're ready for your day.
Yeah, I mean, it varies depending on kind of if I'm traveling or not. I mean, I would love to be able to do the sauna every day, but like this trip to LA makes it a little bit more challenging to find the spaces where I can do that. But upon waking up, what I like to do is not look at my phone first thing and take some time to breathe. right? So just like you're waking up after Shavasana in a yoga class, you don't want to just jump out of bed or just jump off your mat. It shocks the system. So I kind of like to stay in bed and stretch a little bit. I do a little bit of breathing, some diaphragmatic breathing. You know, it's as easy as inhaling to your nose and then exhaling out your mouth. And I do that a few times until I feel like, okay, I'm awake. And then I get out of bed, and drinking a big glass of water, sometimes with some lemon and salt, is really nice. Grounding and putting my feet on the grass. If there's a tree, hugging the tree. If there's sunlight, even better. I like to wear these blue light blockers, first thing when I wake up, so my eyes, my nervous system isn't shocked by any junk light in the space. And then, Qigong, yoga, stretching your body, right? Because they say the issues are in the tissues, right? So your trauma, the body keeps the score, if you've read that book, right? Your trauma gets stored in the physical body. And so when you stretch and move, I'm checking in with my body. I'm trying to see, all right, what are we dealing with today, right? And it's not to criticize your body like, ugh, I still feel this pain in my shoulder, why won't it get better, right? If you're using that frame of thought, you're basically telling your shoulder that it's broken, right? But if you can say, I'm healing every day and I'm getting healthier and healthier, that mindset is what really helps the body heal. So I always try to wake up with some space where I can take that time to meditate and really check in with, okay, moving my body, where am I feeling pain? Where am I experiencing emotional blockages? And once I take care of me, then I'm ready to face the world and hold space for other people. And you mentioned, taking on other people's energy. I think that is something that I thought was a main problem for me before, because I'm such an empath. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna take on everybody's energy. I'm gonna be bombarded with all this negativity. But that's not really how it works, right? Like, you have to give consent and permission to take on someone else's energy. Like, we have a lot of autonomy in how we control and execute our own energetic space. So I think it's really important that when you enter into an environment where I know I'm going to exchange energy, that I'm saying, okay, I'm here to create beautiful synergy with this person. I'm here to hold space in this container with this person, but I am protected and I am okay, and my energy is not going to be affected. So that's kind of a little mantra that I like to say to myself, before I interact with a big group of people. If I'm doing a big event with my band, Light the Path, we do sound baths, but we also do ecstatic dance and different types of dance music for movement. You're around a lot of people, and it can get very energetically draining to be in that space for a long time. So in those spaces, I rely on the support of my team. They make sure that everything is set up. They make sure that all I have to do is just show up, mic check, do my thing, and I don't have to stress and worry about what is going on in the background. That is such a big help to me. So I know that anything that I do is not just me, right? There's a team of people behind me supporting me, and that helps support my energy. So I'm very grateful, to have my team.
Well, you already answered what was going to be my following question, which was, because you're around a lot of people, right? And we can relate this to the world, right? We are all around a lot of people. Some of us are just in front of a lot of people in different ways, but every day we're around a lot of people. So I love what you said, how you pretty much are in charge of what type of energy exchange you're going to have and how you're going to interact with the people that you are around. And we're getting close to our time here, which is bittersweet, because I love talking to you so much.
Thank you.
But I would love for you just to let us know where people can find you, how they can work with you, whether it's in group settings or personally.
Yeah.
So tell us, how do people work with you? Yeah.
Thank you. So I have a website where you can find all the resources, virtual sound bath, I have guided meditations and event announcements on what events I'm doing. So alisagalper.com, just my name, has all the information there. And I'm also on Instagram at Alisa Galper. So if you're in Seattle, definitely pop in for an event. Sometimes I travel for events, so all of that is announced on my website. And through my website, you can also book private sessions. And what I love doing is creating custom events for people.
Oh, that
so
sounds
like
fun.
people invite me to their their bridal showers, their birthday parties, sometimes even for processing grief. Having those containers with your loved ones around you, using the modality of sound healing and mindfulness to create love, like that is my life's work.
Beautiful. So alisagalper.com, right?
Yes.
Okay, guys. Well, my name is Lea Llovio, like love you. And it's been a pleasure to have this energy exchange with Alisa. And just remember, you have so many choices. You don't have to go out and buy everything. As Alisa was saying, one thing at a time. You can listen to a sound bath in the morning. You can do micro blessings for yourself, micro biohacks for yourself, and just be gentle and loving with yourself. What you said really stood out is like, if you wake up with pain somewhere, don't criticize yourself. It's like, be gentle with yourself. Everything we say to ourselves creates energy, which creates frequencies, which creates the quantum shifts that you see in your life. Whether they're for good or for bad, you are the creator of all of the energy and all of the frequencies and all of the healing in your life. So thank you for joining us, and I think we both wish everyone tremendous blessings. So thank you for joining us.
Sending you so much love.
Yes.
It doesn't take one conference, it takes multiple. That's why I hope to see you guys in Chicago, Miami. You guys should join my WhatsApp group, and we all truly become friends.